Matthew 5 verse 13, "You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can it be made salty again? How shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet." First thing about salt is that there are multiple uses. And we know that there are multiple uses, right? In those days, because they didn't have electricity or refrigeration, salt was used to preserve food, just to make it last longer. It was also used in Old Testament sacrifices. But like today, it is also used in seasoning food. Any of you all cook? What do you cook? What kind of foods do you cook?
Curries.
Curries? Very good, very good. What do you cook?
Everything.
Everything. You're a chef here. That's great. Oh, then obviously you cook. What's your specialty? What kind of foods?
Indian food.
Indian foods, yeah. I love, yeah, go ahead.
No, he cooks weddings.
Oh, okay. You do? You cook it for weddings, you said?
Wendy's.
Oh, you cook for Wendy's, okay. It does require a certain level of skill. Yeah. In the last 5 years or so, I've picked up this hobby of cooking, and initially it was just as a hobby, but now it's great fun. I mean, I love cooking different curries, like you said, and not an official chef, but I cook at home. So I cook a ton of Indian food, and you cook chicken tikka masala, and there's so many different flavors and spices that go into it. Sometimes, as you cook, you taste the different. Does it taste right? And as you're cooking, you're like, man, this tastes a little bland. So it's a balance between spices and you get the sour from the tomato and the yogurt, right? And then you get the salt, and then you put a little bit of sugar. You get the bitter from the kasuri methi, right? And so you try to do this combination of flavors. And sometimes after you've done all the stuff, you taste it and it's still a little, it's not popping up like you want it. And all you need to do at that point is just add a little bit of salt, because salt brings out all the flavors and it's used for seasoning. So it's possible that Jesus was talking about all the multiple uses of salt in this culture, and the way salt had influence in that culture. But also he was trying to show the ineffectiveness of salt. It's not scientifically possible for salt to lose its saltiness, because for sodium chloride to not be sodium chloride, it cannot be salt and be saltless. The literal reading is not saltiness or losing saltiness. It's about becoming foolish. That's the literal reading. It's moreno, to become foolish. So Jesus is saying salt has become foolish. And how can salt become foolish in this sense? It has become less effective in its job. It gets mixed in with impurities that make it ineffective. Now, a Christian's influence is also ineffective if we are mixed in with purities. And the interesting thing is, the more a Christian's character is like the world, the less respect we will have. So if your church looks like the world, which there are some churches that look like culture, the culture is reflected inside the church. If your church looks like the culture, you will have less influence and less respect. But if your church looks different than the culture, you will face more ridicule, but you will have respect and have an influence. It is tempting for us to want to be liked by culture, but the more we try to compromise who we are, what the Bible says we are supposed to be, and we become more like the world, we will face less ridicule, but we will have no respect and no influence.